First contact gone wrong. The Elorian distress beacon pulsed weakly against the vast backdrop of space, its quantum signature barely detectable even to the advanced sensors of the ETS horizon. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her reflection ghosting against the stars as she contemplated the implications of what they'd discovered. The Horizon, Earth's most advanced deep space research vessel, hadn't expected to find signs of intelligent life on this routine survey mission. Yet here they were, face to face with humanity's first contact scenario. Signal analysis complete, Captain. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station. It's definitely artificial, and based on the decay pattern, it's been broadcasting for approximately 3 months. The message. He paused, double-checking his readings. It's a warning. They're using universal mathematical constants to encode a message about an invasion. Chen's jaw tightened. Humanity had spent centuries debating how first contact would unfold. They'd prepared for hostility, celebration, confusion, even indifference. But arriving too late to prevent a catastrophe, that hadn't been in the playbook. "Show me the source system," she ordered. The holographic display at the center of the bridge shimmered to life, revealing a binary star system 12 light-years distant. The beacon originated from the third planet of the primary star, a world that bore striking similarities to Earth. Dr. Emily Shaw, the ship's cynoanthropologist, stepped forward. "Captain, the mathematical complexity of this beacon suggests a civilization at least as advanced as our own. The fact that they're using quantum entanglement for faster-than-light communication indicates they might even be ahead of us in some areas, but not in military technology," Commander James Wright, the ship's tactical officer, added grimly. "Otherwise, they wouldn't be sending distress signals." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel 30 years ago, but those 3 decades had seen explosive advancement in military technology. The Cold War of the 22nd century had driven innovation to unprecedented heights before the global unification under the Earth Concordat. "How many ships do we have within response range?" Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. The Horizon was part of a larger exploration initiative, with other vessels spread throughout this sector of space. 3 research vessels including us, and the 7th Fleet is conducting exercises 6 light-years from here, Wright responded. Admiral Patel's battle group. 15 warships, including 2 carriers. Chen took a deep breath. First contact protocols were clear. Observe, report, and wait for instructions from Earth Command. But those protocols hadn't anticipated finding an advanced civilization under attack. The quantum entanglement communicator could get a message back to Earth instantly, but the nearest reinforcements would take weeks to arrive. "Send the following to Earth Command," Chen ordered, straightening her uniform. First contact achieved. Advanced civilization designated Elorian based on beacon signatures. Evidence suggests ongoing invasion by unknown hostile force. Request immediate authorization to investigate and render assistance. 7th Fleet in strike range, awaiting orders. The next 6 hours were the longest of Chen's career. The bridge crew remained at their stations, monitoring the beacon and gathering what intelligence they could about both the Elorian civilization and their apparent attackers. The quantum entanglement communicator hummed quietly, its crystals maintaining their invisible connection to Earth across the vast distance of space. When the response finally came, it was not what anyone had expected. Instead of the cautious diplomatic response typical of Earth Command, they received tactical data, military authorization codes, and a simple message: Operation Starbreak authorized. You have full tactical discretion. Save them. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Send to Admiral Patel. The Horizon will scout ahead. We're smaller and stealthier than your battle group. We'll gather intelligence and transmit invasion force positions. Request you begin combat jump preparations. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. The Horizon slipped into the outer edges of the Elorian system, its advanced stealth systems, making it virtually invisible to conventional sensors. What they found confirmed their worst fears and ignited a fury in the human crew that none had expected to feel for an alien species. The invaders, who they would later learn called themselves the Vaxari, had established a blockade around the Elorian homeworld. Their ships were massive, brutal things that seemed to have been designed for the sole purpose of inspiring terror. The Elorian defense fleet lay in ruins, their more elegant vessels reduced to fields of debris that orbited their world like a grotesque memorial. But the Elorians weren't defeated. From their observations, the Horizon's crew could detect pockets of resistance on the surface, sophisticated energy signatures that suggested shield technology protecting major population centers. The Vaxari were struggling to achieve total victory, their frustration evident in the increasingly aggressive bombardment patterns. "They don't know we're coming," Chen said softly, watching the tactical display. "They have no idea that humanity is about to enter the galactic stage." She turned to her communications officer. "Send the data packet to Admiral Patel and prepare a message for the Elorian resistance. It's time they learn they're not alone anymore." As the Horizon's quantum transmitter hummed to life, Chen couldn't help but think about the irony of the situation. Humanity had spent centuries looking up at the stars, wondering if they were alone, hoping their first contact would be peaceful. Instead, they were about to announce their existence to the galaxy not with a handshake, but with a punch. The silent response. Admiral Patel stood in the Combat Information Center of the ETS Adamant, watching as holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in the Vaxari invasion fleet. The data transmitted by the Horizon had been comprehensive, revealing not just locations but patterns of behavior, weaknesses in formation, and most importantly, the technological capabilities of their soon-to-be opponents. "Their shields are based on deflection technology," Captain Wei explained, manipulating the hologram to zoom in on a Vaxari battleship. "They're designed to handle energy weapons and kinetic impacts, but they've never encountered our quantum-phased munitions. They won't know what hit them." The Admiral nodded, her expression grave. Earth's military technology had developed along a unique path, driven by the necessity of fighting in the asteroid fields during the resource wars. While other species apparently focused on brute force and energy weapons, humanity had perfected the art of manipulating space-time itself at a quantum level. "Status of the fleet?" she asked, though her eyes never left the tactical display. "All ships report ready," her XO, Commander Jackson, responded. "The new stealth systems are functioning perfectly. The Vaxari still haven't detected our presence at the rally point. Strike groups are positioned according to Plan Delta, and the carrier groups have their aerospace wings prepped for launch." Patel allowed herself a moment to appreciate the irony. The Vaxari had no idea that their seemingly overwhelming force was actually surrounded. The 7th Fleet had split into 3 battle groups, using the system's asteroid fields and gas giants' radiation belts for cover. The moment the order was given, they would emerge from 3 different vectors, catching the invasion fleet in a deadly crossfire. "Message from the Horizon," the communications officer announced. "Captain Chen reports successful contact with the Elorian resistance. They've provided updated planetary defense coordinates and are ready to coordinate their remaining orbital platforms with our attack." This was the part that impressed Patel most. In less than 72 hours, humanity had not only made first contact with an alien civilization, but had established effective military cooperation with them. The Elorians, despite their desperate situation, had proven to be quick studies and adaptable allies. "Show me the Elorian defense grid," Patel ordered. The hologram shifted, revealing a network of orbital platforms and ground-based installations. Many were damaged or destroyed, but those that remained operational had been carefully preserved by the Elorians, waiting for the right moment. "Their technology is elegant," Wei commented, "more advanced than ours in some ways, especially their energy management systems. But they never developed our kind of weapons. They focused on defense and sustainability rather than offensive capabilities. which makes what the Vaxeri are doing even more despicable, Jackson added, his voice tight with controlled anger. The preliminary data suggested the Vaxeri were pure expansionists, attacking and subjugating less militant species simply because they could. Patel's quantum pad chimed softly. A message from Earth Command had arrived, accompanied by an extensive data package. As she reviewed it, her eyes widened slightly, the only indication of surprise she allowed herself to show. Well, she said after a moment, it seems Earth Command has been busy. They've analyzed the Vaxeri communication protocols the Horizon intercepted. Our cyber warfare suite has been updated accordingly. We won't just be attacking their ships, we'll be getting inside their systems. The implications weren't lost on anyone in the command center. Earth's cyber warfare capabilities were already formidable, developed through centuries of human versus human digital conflict. With the ability to penetrate Vaxeri systems, they could turn the alien fleet's own weapons and defensive systems against them. Time to execute, Jackson asked. Patel studied the tactical display one final time. The Vaxeri fleet maintained their arrogant blockade formation, obviously believing their superior numbers made them invincible. Their ships were powerful, their crews presumably experienced in conquest. But they had never faced humanity before. They had never encountered a species that had turned warfare into a science, that had developed technologies specifically designed to counter the kind of brute force tactics the Vaxeri employed. Signal all ships, she ordered. Operation Starbreak commences in 30 minutes. Transmit targeting data to all vessels and begin final weapon preparations. And send word to the Horizon. Tell Captain Chen to inform our Elorian allies to be ready. The galaxy is about to change. As the command center burst into activity, Paddle reflected on the historic nature of what they were about to do. This would be humanity's first interstellar war, their first time fighting alongside an alien ally, their first step onto the galactic stage. The Vaxeri had no idea that their routine conquest was about to become the catalyst for humanity's emergence as a major power. One more thing, she added, turning to her staff. All ships are to prioritize minimizing Elorian civilian casualties. We're not just here to win a battle. We're here to show the galaxy what humanity stands for. Operation Thunderstrike. The first indication the Vaxeri had that something was wrong came when their long-range communication arrays suddenly went dark. In the command center of their flagship, the Eternal Dominion, Supreme Commander Kraz Tull watched in growing confusion as system after system reported inexplicable failures. What the Vaxeri commander couldn't know was that this was just the beginning. Throughout their fleet, quantum encrypted algorithms were already spreading through their networks like digital wildfire, transmitted via their own communication channels. By the time they detected the intrusion, it would be far too late. Aboard the ETS Adamant, Admiral Patel gave a slight nod. Execute primary attack phase. The response was immediate and devastating. 15 human warships materialized simultaneously from their stealth positions, their quantum drives creating brief, controlled tears in space-time that bypassed the need for conventional deceleration. To the Vaxeri sensors, it would have appeared as if the human fleet had simply winked into existence at point-blank range. All ships, weapons-free, Patel commanded. Initiate targeting protocols. The first volley of human weapons took the Vaxeri completely by surprise. Instead of conventional missiles or energy beams, the human ships launched what appeared to be small, innocuous projectiles. The Vaxeri commanders, watching through failing sensor systems, initially didn't even bother to raise shields against such seemingly insignificant threats. That was their first mistake. The quantum-phased munitions passed through the Vaxeri shields as if they didn't exist, their specially engineered warheads creating microscopic areas where the laws of physics briefly ceased to function. Where they struck Vaxeri hull plating, matter simply ceased to exist, leaving perfect spherical holes that vented atmosphere and crew into space. Multiple direct hits confirmed, Captain Wei reported, his voice steady despite the historic nature of the moment. Vaxari shields proving ineffective against HP weapons. Their fleet is attempting to regroup, but our cyber warfare suite has compromised their tactical networks. They're having trouble coordinating their responses. The Vaxari, to their credit, recovered quickly from their initial shock. Their ships began to turn, bringing their heavy weapons to bear on the human fleet. But even this played into humanity's hands. Initiate secondary attack phase, Paddle ordered. Launch aerospace wings. From the two human carriers, swarms of fighters emerged. But these were unlike any fighters the galaxy had seen before. Each was piloted by a hybrid team, a human pilot working in direct neural interface with an AI combat system. The combination of human intuition and machine precision made them nearly impossible to hit and deadly accurate in their attacks. The fighters darted between the massive Vaxari ships, their smaller quantum-phased weapons targeting engines, weapon emplacements, and command centers with surgical precision. The Vaxari point defense systems, already compromised by human cyber attacks, couldn't track the agile human craft effectively. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, "the Horizon reports that Elorian defense platforms are powering up. They're ready to coordinate with our attack." Patel allowed herself a small smile. "Signal Captain Chen to proceed with Phase 3. Across the battlefield, the remaining Elorian orbital defense platforms suddenly came to life. But instead of firing their conventional energy weapons, they began broadcasting on frequencies provided by the human fleet. The broadcasts carried specialized electromagnetic pulses, carefully tuned to interact with the quantum-phased weapons in ways that multiplied their effectiveness. "Remarkable," Wei muttered, watching the tactical display. "The Elorian technology is actually amplifying our weapon effects. The combination is more effective than either technology alone." The Vaxari fleet was now in complete disarray. Their rigid command structure, accustomed to overwhelming less advanced opponents through sheer force, proved inadequate against humanity's multi-layered assault. Ships that managed to avoid the quantum-phased weapons found their systems turned against them by cyber attacks. Those that survived both still had to contend with the swarms of aerospace fighters that seemed to anticipate their every move. "Status of the Eternal Dominion?" Patil asked, her eyes fixed on the Vaxari flagship. "Their primary systems are offline," Jackson reported. "Our cyber warfare suite has complete control of their auxiliary power grid. They're trapped in their current position." Patel nodded. "Open a channel to Supreme Commander Krasful." The communication system crackled to life, and the image of the Vaxari commander appeared on the main screen. The alien's expression was unreadable to human eyes, but his rigid posture spoke volumes. "This is Admiral Patil of the Earth Concordat Defense Force," she announced clearly. "Your fleet is disabled, your weapons are under our control, and your communication systems are compromised. You have two choices: surrender and withdraw from Elorian space immediately, or we will be forced to demonstrate exactly how much damage we've been holding back." There was a long moment of silence. In the background of the Vaxari transmission, alarms could be heard blaring, and officers were shouting reports of system failures and mounting casualties. "You?" Krasful's translator struggled to convey his mixture of rage and disbelief. "You are barely a spacefaring species. How is this possible?" "We had good teachers," Patil replied simply. "Humanity spent centuries fighting itself before reaching the stars." The battle that followed was even more one-sided than the fight at Eloria. The Vaxari defenders, despite their preparations, found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to have counters for every tactic, solutions for every strategy. Human quantum-phased weapons, now enhanced by Elorian energy matrices, cut through their strongest defenses like they weren't there. Elorian shields, regulated by human AI systems, proved impenetrable to Vaxari weapons. But it was on the ground that the true innovation of the human-Elorian alliance became apparent. As the orbital defenses fell, dropships descended toward the surface of Nexus Prime. Inside them were joint teams of human and Elorian special forces, each bringing their unique capabilities to the fight. Commander Sarah Foster, leader of the first human-Elorian combined strike force, watched through her neural interface as her team approached their target, the Planetary Defense Headquarters. Beside her, her Elorian counterpart, Sentinel Velar, sat in perfect calm, his bioluminescent patches glowing with ready energy. "Remember," Foster transmitted to her team, "Velar's people handle shields and energy manipulation. We handle breach points and close combat. Work together, trust your training, and watch each other's backs." The assault was a masterpiece of coordination. While Elorian energy specialists created gaps in the facility's shields, human quantum breach charges opened paths through its walls. Elorian warriors projected personal shield bubbles that protected advancing human troops, while human combat specialists cleared the way with non-lethal quantum stun weapons. Within an hour, the Planetary Defense Headquarters had been secured with minimal casualties on either side. Similar scenes played out across Nexus Prime as the combined forces systematically dismantled the Vaxari military presence while leaving civilian infrastructure intact. "This is why they never stood a chance," Velar commented to Foster as they watched Vaxari officials being processed for detention. "They built their empire on fear and force. They never understood the power of true cooperation, of combining different perspectives and abilities." Foster nodded. In the 3 weeks since the Battle of Eloria, she had learned more about warfare and technology from working with the Elorians than she had in years of human military training. The Elorians, in turn, had been astounded by humanity's innovative approaches to problems they had struggled with for centuries. Back in orbit, Admiral Patel and her Elorian counterpart, High Guardian Lyra, were already planning the next phase of the campaign. The quantum intelligence networks had identified 3 more Vaxari worlds where subjugated species were being held under military occupation. The Vaxari built their strategy around overwhelming force, Lyra observed, her translator perfectly conveying her thoughtful tone. They never considered that they might face an enemy that could not only match their strength but completely negate it. They made the mistake of thinking technological advancement only moves in one direction, Paddle replied. They assumed that because they had been in space longer, had built bigger ships and more powerful weapons, they must be superior. They never considered that a younger species might have developed along completely different lines. The liberation of Nexus Prime sent shockwaves through the Vaxari Empire. Reports of the combined human-Elorian forces' capability spread rapidly, along with stories of how they had protected civilians while precisely targeting military assets. On a dozen worlds, subjugated species began to rise up, knowing that help was coming. "Message from Earth Command," Captain Wei announced on the Adamant's bridge. "The diplomatic corps is receiving communications from 17 different species. They all want to discuss alliance possibilities." Patel allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy was changing, and humanity's introduction to the interstellar community, while not the peaceful first contact they had hoped for, had demonstrated something far more important: their commitment to protecting the innocent and their ability to work alongside other species as equals. "Send word to the fleet," she ordered. "We move on the next target in 12 hours. The Vaxari Empire is about to learn that the galaxy is a much bigger place than they imagined, and that strength comes in many forms." Dawn of a new era. 6 months after the Battle of Eloria, the Grand Conference Chamber of the newly constructed Galactic Concordat headquarters buzzed with activity. Representatives from 23 spacefaring species had gathered on the neutral world of New Haven, a pristine planet jointly developed by humans and Elorians, as a symbol of their alliance. Captain Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's military attaché to the Concordat, stood at one of the chamber's vast windows, watching ships from dozens of worlds moving through the organized chaos of orbital traffic. The sleek lines of Elorian vessels contrasted with the angular efficiency of human ships, while vessels of other designs, some organic-looking, others geometric, still others barely visible to the naked eye, demonstrated the incredible diversity of galactic civilization. "It's remarkable how quickly things can change," a familiar voice said behind her. Chen turned to find Admiral Patel, her dress uniform adorned with new insignia marking her role as Supreme Commander of the Combined Defense Force. 6 months ago, we were wondering if we'd ever meet alien life, Chen replied. Now we're helping to establish a galactic federation. The fall of the Vaxari Empire had created a power vacuum in the galaxy, but unlike previous such events in human history, this vacuum was being filled not by another empire, but by something entirely new. The Galactic Concordat represented a different approach to interstellar relations, one that emphasized cooperation and mutual defense while respecting the autonomy of its member species. Supreme Commander, an aide interrupted politely. The Vaxari delegation has arrived. Patel nodded. This would be a most delicate part of the day's proceedings. The Vaxari Empire had not completely collapsed. Instead, it had undergone a radical transformation. The military hardliners like Kraz Tull had been replaced by a younger generation of leaders who had seen the writing on the wall, adapt or become irrelevant in the new galactic order. In the main chamber, representatives from across known space gathered around the great circular table. The human and Elorian delegates sat side by side, their alliance now formalized in a dozen treaties and demonstrated in countless joint projects. Beside them sat delegates from formerly subjugated species, now free to determine their own destinies. And there, under heavy guard but present nonetheless, sat the Vaxari, their once proud martial bearing replaced by a more subdued demeanor. High Guardian Lyra, now serving as the Elorian representative to the Concordat, rose to speak. 6 months ago, our people faced extinction at the hands of an empire that valued only strength and conquest. We were saved not just by human military power, but by humanity's willingness to reach across the gulf of space and help a species they had never met. Today, we gather to ensure that no peaceful species will ever face such aggression again. The formal proceedings that followed would be studied by historians for centuries to come. The Galactic Concordat was more than just a mutual defense pact. It was a framework for sharing technology, resolving disputes, and ensuring the rights of all sentient species. The Vaxari, under their new leadership, agreed to reparations and disarmament in exchange for a path to eventual Concordat membership. But perhaps most significantly, the Concordat established the principle of protected species status. Any newly discovered spacefaring civilization would be contacted not by individual species, but by Concordat representatives, ensuring peaceful first contact and offering membership once they reached appropriate technological and social development levels. It's not just about preventing another Vaxari empire, Commander Foster explained to a group of alien military officers after the ceremony. She and Sentinel Veller had been tasked with developing training programs for the Concordat's combined defense forces. It's about learning from each other. Every species brings unique perspectives and capabilities. Together, we're stronger than any empire could ever be. As the day's ceremonies concluded, Captain Chen found herself back at the observation window, this time accompanied by Dr. Emily Shaw, the xenoanthropologist whose insights had proven so valuable during first contact with the Elorians. "You know what amazes me most," Shaw said, watching as ships from across the galaxy moved in harmony through New Haven's orbital lanes. 6 months ago, humanity was afraid we might be alone in the universe. Now we're helping to guide the development of galactic civilization. "We had good teachers," Chen replied, echoing Admiral Patel's words from the Battle of Eloria. "The Elorians taught us about harmony and sustainable progress. The Vaxari, albeit unintentionally, taught us about the importance of being ready to defend our values. And every species we've met since has taught us something new about the infinite possibilities that exist among the stars." As night fell on New Haven, the orbital traffic created rivers of light against the darkness of space. In offices and laboratories across the planet, humans worked alongside aliens, combining their knowledge and capabilities in ways that pushed the boundaries of what any one species had thought possible. Joint military exercises in the outer system demonstrated levels of coordination and effectiveness that would have been unimaginable half a year ago. and in quantum communications channels across known space, the message spread. The age of empires was over. A new era of cooperation and mutual advancement had begun, sparked by humanity's dramatic entrance onto the galactic stage, but sustained by the shared vision of dozens of species working together for the first time in galactic history. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for someone to show that there was a better way. And humanity, despite its youth among the stars, had somehow been perfectly positioned to do exactly that.